going on, guys? Welcome to the LowKick MMA Weekly Roundup. I'm your host, Ryan Galloway, and joining me is Jordan Ellis. Jordan, how you going, mate? You finally got a haircut after about 5 months.
Yeah, I've been avoiding actually doing camera stuff. Besides this, like if there's an interview or there's something going on, if I can fob it off on or get rid of it, I'm trying to stay off camera. But now, fresh trim, I'll be doing more video interviews. People can look forward to them. Yeah, feeling good. Another good card. As I said last time, lots of all the events are coming back now, and we've got a great weekend coming up. Not just UFC. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, arguably the biggest boxing match in history coming up this weekend, as well as this card. But we'll jump into the card first, and obviously it's a fight night headlined by Robert Whittaker, the former middleweight champion, taking on Kelvin Gastelum, who in a fight he was meant to have at UFC 234, I believe, in Melbourne. But obviously Whittaker got injured on fight day, and they didn't fight then, but they fight now. What do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, I would have loved it a few years ago. Right now I'm less, psyched about it because Kelvin, he's not at his best. I don't know what's going on with him. He's still young and all that stuff, but he just doesn't seem to be, performing his best lately. Even his win last time out wasn't particularly impressive. So I am firmly in the Robert Whittaker camp for this one. I believe he'll at least a victory in this. But yeah, nonetheless, it's an exciting fight. And if the best Kelvin Gastelum turns up, it's a really close fight in my opinion. But we haven't seen it for a while, so it's hard to bank on that.
That is a good point you bring up there, that Kelvin hasn't looked too great recently. But at the end of the day, this is a 5-round fight, and the last 2 fights Kelvin's had were 3-rounders, weren't they? Both of them. And he didn't look great in the Till fight, but to be honest, Till didn't look great in the Till fight. It was kind of a lackluster fight. He did lose convincingly, and then he lost again after that to Hermansson. He got finished in the first, and then he fought Heinisch. So 3 rounds, and obviously the Heinisch one was a boring win. But, I expect Kelvin to come in his best form in this, Gastelum to come in his best form in this one, and I expect him to put it on Whittaker, and I think it really is going to come down to who can put the other person away. Being 5 rounds, I think Gastelum's going to get him out of there before the end if Whittaker doesn't do it first.
I think I think Whittaker can fight a small fight again. He can do what he did to Darren Till and kind of pick him apart. I'd be looking for one shot rather than, trying to throw combos with Kelvin, because his hands are, so sharp that you don't want to be trading up too much with him. He wants to pick his shots, pick his moments, and come in and out. I hope we get the best Kelvin, because there's no reason we shouldn't, because there's so much on the line. You beat Whittaker, you're probably getting a title shot at this point, despite the fact that he hasn't been impressive recently. But for me, the best Kelvin would be a 170. I feel like if he really tried and committed, he could make that weight, and he doesn't seem prepared to do so. He doesn't seem to want that. So I think at middleweight, he's going to come unstuck against the top guys. I think he'll come unstuck in this one, and all these top guys are going to give him a tough night because he is undersized, and it's so yeah, another win for Whittaker. And then if he doesn't get a title shot, it'll only be for him turning it down. I can't see how he's not getting off of the title shot with a win here.
Yeah, I know we kind of alluded to it earlier. I mean, you did. How do you think this fight would have been different if they had have done it at UFC 234? Would you have given Gastelum the edge then?
Yeah, I'm a big Kelvin Gastelum fan. I watched it. I was proper into the series of Tough he was on. I watched it, start to finish, all of it, and I was rooting for him the whole way through. So I'm a big Kelvin Gastelum guy. It's just, the evidence is there that he's not performing lately. One of Chris Weidman's only wins over the recent few years has been Kelvin Gastelum. So even Chris Weidman, who's on a downslide, was able to beat him. So it's just, for me, Kelvin needs to go 170. Back then, I probably would have picked him because I was a big fan, but now it's very hard. It is very hard to get behind Kelvin Gastelum in this fight. But he's in it. He's a big name. It's a big opportunity, and he's certainly got the talent. So you wouldn't write him off. But just form-wise, Whittaker all day for me.
And that's the thing, right? You think about back then, obviously they didn't fight, and then Gastelum's next fight was against Alhassan, which he looked really good in. I mean, he lost the fight, but for the first 3 rounds of the fight, he looked like he was going to win that fight. Obviously he came up short, and it was a convincing last 2 rounds for Alhassan. There's no arguing on the decision there. But if he can get a win here, and you put him in there against Izzy again, can he replicate that or even win? What do you think?
Yeah, I think people have seen Izzy lose now. I feel like the mystique's gone a bit. I think all these middleweight guys will fancy themselves and will fancy themselves wrestlers as well, because he was pretty easy to take down. So, you know, Kelvin's got that wrestling base where we seen when he fought Uriah Hall, he took him down, and it was an impressive win, and it was an upset win. So I think Kelvin could, you know, if he mixed in the wrestling, got on the inside, and, you know, it was a tremendous fight, and I'm sure if he beats Whittaker, everyone will be pushing for that fight again, because why wouldn't we? But this is a great main event we've got here, and, you know, Kelvin Gastelum at his best can beat Whittaker. It's just who turns up on the night. How is he going to look? He's in a spot that he probably doesn't deserve right now, but he's in it, and here's his chance. And Whittaker's got to shut that down and make it 3 in a row since his comeback, because he's looked fantastic as well.
But that's the thing, like, Whittaker has looked unstoppable since he came back. In the Till fight, he got knocked down early and just managed to outpoint him the rest of the fight. In the Cannonier fight, he dominated. He got in trouble in the third, but he still managed to pull a win there. And if he pulls a third win in a row here, you have to give him the title shot. Like you said, you can't turn the dude down after this. And so I expect either one of these guys to be next to challenge. But I'm going to agree with you there. I think Whittaker's going to take it. And I think it's just he's technically better. And Kelvin's going to walk onto a shot. I can see it happening. And also, Whittaker's my guy, being from Australia. So going to go with Whittaker as well in this one.
Yeah, and I thought Vettori, after his fight last week, might have, you know, slid in there. But when he called out that Izzy, he said, "Oh, let's do it in October." And I think October will be enough time for Whittaker to have a bit of time off after this win, enjoy his family, and then, you know, get ready for another fight. I feel October is a brilliant time for him. So I feel if Vettori wanted to slip in there, he'd have to slip in there July and be ready to go, you know, International Fight Week or something along them lines, you know. So, yeah, I'm going for Whittaker next. I think Whittaker wins this fight, and then he gets another shot at Izzy. Very much deserved as well.
Okay, we'll jump onto the co-main event then. The lightweight, Jeremy Stephens, making his lightweight return. I don't think he's fought in lightweight in years and years and years, if ever. Taking on Ricardo Close, who's got a couple of losses in the UFC, but he's looked pretty good otherwise. I think this is a good matchup for Stephens to come up weight to, because Close isn't someone who's been finishing people. He's someone who's been edging decisions. So if Stephens can go in there and fight 3 rounds of classic Jeremy Stephens go forward and bang style, he could get a win in this one. What do you think?
Yeah, and Dracar's coming off that KO loss to Ben Darush last year as well. So I think Jeremy, as a puncher, will feel confident. I can take this guy out. I like Jeremy Stephens at lightweight. It's just the upper echelon guys he's going to struggle against, because he will be undersized. But he's got that power, and I think he'll carry that power up, and he'll be able to beat the guys like Dracar Close, and he'll at that level. But once he gets into the rankings, it is going to be a tough ask for him. But it's a tough ask at featherweight as well, and it's been a tough ask because he's lost a bunch of fights in a row, hasn't he? And it's all against all top guys, but he has lost a bunch of fights. So this move seemed inevitable. Glad to see him make it, and glad to see him, you know, stepping down a little bit for this fight. Hopefully he can get back to form.
Well, that's the thing. At lightweight, he needed to, like you said, he needed to do this because he was on such a skid. But I think at lightweight, he can go through these guys up to the 15. Once he gets to the ranked guys, I think he's going to struggle a lot. I just really don't know. I understand why he made the move, but I don't know if it was the right move, because at featherweight, I think he can still contend with the top guys. Maybe not the top guys, but top 15, I think he could definitely hang around 12, 13 there. But when you got a lightweight, it's just murderer's row. There's no way he's going to get into the rankings unless he's changed his game plan, his mentality entirely, and he comes out there looking like a new fighter, you know? Which I hope he has, because I do want to see success for Stephens, because he's a fun fighter to watch.
Yeah, and I think he'll do well in this fight. I honestly do. I think he'll do well. He'll look good, and he'll probably get a performance bonus, because if he gets that KO, it's going to be, you know, emphatic. It's after that, who does he go? The hype might start building, and then they throw him to some like Fiziev or someone of that ilk, and then the next thing he's getting pieced up. So, yeah, I like Jeremy Stephens. What's he going to do? He kind of had to make the move, didn't he? You know, he'd lost all the top contenders at featherweight pretty convincingly. So there was no real route back to that title for him. Whereas lightweight, it's fresh, it's new, no weight cuts. Little drop down level. It's a good move, and I think Jeremy Stephens will look good on the weekend.
Yeah, and another fighter who was in a similar position was Charles Oliveira, and he's about to fight for the title. So maybe we're both completely off on this one, and he'll go on to have a title run at lightweight. Who knows? We'll see. Before that, we have heavyweights. Andre Arlovski has been tasked with taking on another up-and-coming fighter again. I don't really know about up-and-coming. Chase Herman's had quite a few fights in the UFC now, but he's not getting that push into the rankings that... I mean, he's put, 2 together back-to-back? Or no, he just lost, didn't he? I'm blanking. He lost to Aspinall, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
That's
he
right.
Lost.
Okay, so this makes sense.
He's a tough night for anyone.
Mm.
Yeah, he really is a tough night for anyone, Arlovski, and especially for someone like Chase Sherman, who's, as you said, he is an up-and-comer. I think he's probably in his 30s, but, he's not, he's on the peripheral, and it's about, taking that step up. This will probably be, I'd probably say it's still the biggest win of his career if he gets by Arlovski. He looked great last time out against Villanueva. He looked fantastic. And then there was a thing. Yeah, he received us making a big. If you're not good enough, you will not get by Arlovski. He's still got it, in his 40s, and he's still got it. So if Sherman's not good enough, he won't get by him. But I think he'll show that he is good enough.
I'm going to disagree with you. I think Arlovski probably wins this one. I think he outpoints him for 3 rounds and does similar to what he did. Who did he take on? I'm blanking. Let me just jump to his record here. But Arlovski's looked great in his last few, other than the Aspinall loss. But I mean, before that, he fought Philip Lins, and Tanner Boza. Both of them, he managed to just outclass them. And I expect him to do the same in this one because although his chin has been a bit iffy over the years, his technical skill has still stood up. So I expect to see him get a win.
Good fight.
Good fight. I'm just getting off his record here. Let me just jump back to the card. Before that, we have middleweights. Obviously, Rob Whittaker's teammate, Jacob Malkoon, taking on Abdul Razak Alhassan, the knockout artist who got knocked out in his last fight. This is an interesting one because Malkoon was a really hot prospect, and then he came to the UFC and just looked like he was kind of lost in there. He backed up against the cage and he got finished in 30 seconds or something. So how has he adjusted from that to take on this guy, Alhassan, who I expect is going to walk him straight to the cage and try and do a similar thing?
Yeah, if you're one of Malkoon's fans, you'd be worried about this matchup. I really would, because Alhassan, he's come back and he hasn't looked great, but he struggled to make that 170-pound weight. So now he's going to move up to middleweight, and he's a powerful guy. And Malkoon, as you said, when he made his debut, he kind of looked like he shouldn't have been in UFC. I didn't expect to see him again. To be fair, at least for a while anyway. But he's in there with another killer, another guy with power, and I think he's going to get finished quick again. For me, he didn't look UFC caliber when he stepped up, and now he's on another main card against Alhassan, who's a banger. It's a tough one. I'd be very surprised if Alhassan didn't get back in the win column here.
Well, the thing is that Malkoon's main skill set is his grappling. He's such a high caliber grappler. So if he can manage to get this to the floor, I have no doubts he can get a submission and win the fight in the first, right? Or even later in the fight if he can get to the floor multiple times. It's just the fact that when he's on the feet, from what we've seen of him in the UFC, outside the UFC he's looked pretty good. But in the UFC, what we've seen is he just doesn't look like he's not comfortable in there. He was circling the wrong way. He backed up the cage and he managed to get finished. I hope in this fight he's made adjustments. He's going to go forward and try and take him down because that is the easiest way for him to get a win in this fight. So we'll see what he's made in changes.
What's his record before he come in? When he's something like 4-0.
Yeah, he was 4-0 and now he's 4-1.
That's what I mean. So four fights and he's in the UFC. It might be because he trains with Izzy or some type of weird push, but it's 4-0 people don't usually go straight to the UFC. So he must have done something outside to impress besides being just mates with Izzy. So I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of him. But this is a tough matchup. I think Alhassan, he showed in that Laziz fight that he's still got the pop in his shots. He's still a good fighter. He can take a punch. He can go the 3 rounds. I want to see him at middleweight. I think it's a good move. I think this is all just piling up on his favor. I don't think the UFC are doing Malkoon any favors here. Number one, calling him up when he's 4-0 and then putting him in with killers. But this is the UFC. This is it's sink or swim, and let's see how he does.
Well, it would be one part. He's a teammate of Whittaker's, not Izzy's, but that would be a big part of why he's on this card with Whittaker, right? And why he got signed. And the other part is his jiu-jitsu record, like in competitive jiu-jitsu, is really good. Like he's seasoned at jiu-jitsu. So yeah, interesting matchup. Let's see how it goes. Before that, we have lightweights. Luis Pena coming back against Alex Munoz. What do you think?
Luis Pena had all this hype behind him, and it just seemed to have all gone away now. He wins one, he loses one. It's always decisions. I'm not sure on him. He's another guy who we spoke last week about that. What was that guy called? The 6'3" guy who fought on the last card.
I know you're talking about Scarman.
Yeah, he's a Bellamundas. Anyway, we talked about him being too big for that division. I'd say Luis Pena is another one of them guys. He just seems like he's like a skeleton on these things, and he could go to welterweight pretty easy. I'm sure one day he could fight at middleweight if he fills out, but he persists with lightweight despite the results not being well. And let's see how he goes here against Alexander Munoz. Good fight. It's not my pick for fight of the night or anything like that, but I'm always interested to see Pena because I feel like he's got this potential and he just hasn't quite lived up to it yet. But at 27, I'm still waiting for him to do it. He's got the time.
Well, I mean, Munoz was an undefeated Olympic-level wrestler coming into UFC 6-0, and then he came up against Hapkarast, who obviously stuffed all the takedowns and managed to edge him out in decision. I don't think he got a finish. But anyway, he took his first loss. But in that fight, it was the fact that Hapkarast could defend the takedowns that won him the fight. How is Pena going to do that? Because I haven't really, from memory, seen Pena defend a lot of takedowns. And when he fought Karma Worthy, he was taken down at will and submitted, So I don't know how this fight's going to go down. I hope we get an interesting fight. I hope it's not just wrestling on the ground. I'm a fan of wrestling, but I just hope this one's not boring. Because Pena is a very exciting striker. He's really rangy and he's very technical. But yeah, that wrestling is going to be a huge problem, in my opinion.
Yeah, and Munoz, just as you mentioned, then his debut, he was tough. He showed a lot of stuff in that fight, despite the fact he weren't able to win. It was a tough debut as to come, and he hung in there, and this is a drop down from that level, I would say, against Pena. So very winnable fight for both guys. I think it's a good matchup. Well done to the matchmakers. They put two similarly leveled guys together. Let's see how it turns out.
For sure. Open the main card, we have Ricardo Ramos versus Bill Algeo. I'll throw this one to you quick because I don't have many thoughts on this one. What do you think?
I haven't even got this one on my card. I'm looking at the Wikipedia one.
Oh, I've just got it on Google, but maybe it's not on the card. Let's just confirm this. Let me go to the UFC's website. All right. UFC events. This is the thing with these cards, right? They just get changed up on the fight day, the couple of days before the fight. Fights get added, so you never know if you're looking at the right lineup. What do we got here?
You never know with that UFC site either. Like the UFC site's always updating wrong or stuff like that. So Wikipedia, people bash it, but I think it's usually right.
According to the UFC site and the Google search, they are opening the main card, but that's okay if you don't have it. Do you have any thoughts on that matchup, or we'll jump on to prelims? It's Ricardo Ramos and Bill Algeo.
No, not particularly. I wanted to speak about a couple of the prelims. I really do like. I'm Tracy Cortez. I'm kind of on her train. I like the fighter. She's got everything it takes to be a star. So looking forward to seeing her again. Also Alexander Romanov. I think he did that crazy choke last time out, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he did a forearm choke on someone. It was a strange one to see. I don't think I'd ever seen one before. Good to see Jessica Penn back. It's been a while, and then also GM3's back as well. So lots to look forward to on that undercard there. I'm quite looking forward to it.
Yeah, it should be a good event overall. I suppose it's time to jump onto the most polarizing event of the weekend. Jake Paul taking on Ben Askren in a boxing match. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm backing Ben all day since the moment it got made. I've been thinking Ben's going to beat him. Ben is not a poor striker out of any lack of actual ability. He just doesn't. He hasn't trained boxing. I think all the talk is that from DC is what I heard is that Ben refused to train boxing when he was doing MMA, or he did very little boxing. So he's an athletic guy. He's succeeding in fighting. He can take a punch. He's got the cardio. I think he's got so many advantages. And someone like him who is a natural athlete will come along leaps and bounds after a 12-week camp compared to someone like Jake Paul who is, not an athlete and is a YouTuber. So I'm expecting Ben to win and kind of shut all this down, or at least, shut them down fighting actual fighters.
I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to say Jake Paul goes out there and starches him in the first. I think Ben Askren, I watched his open workout today, and he doesn't look like he's the most seasoned striker, that's for sure. And if Jake Paul is as good as all these athletes who have trained with him are saying he is, he's going to go out there and run through him. So I think that'll be a good test for Paul to see if he's actually legit. Because I know that a lot of people don't put stock into Askren striking, but if he can finish Ben Askren, it at least shows that he's got power and he knows how to use it, right?
Yeah, and there's just no way. For me, there's no way he's finishing Ben Askren. I just don't see it. Like Ben Askren is, he's tough punches from Robbie Lawler. He's not getting KO'd by Jake Paul. I really just can't see it. If he does do that, the whole thing goes into overdrive. That's when it actually becomes possible that Jake Paul might fight Conor McGregor or might fight one of these big names, because that would be huge stuff. But I just don't see it. I see Ben, closing the gap, taking a few punches, covering up, and then just wearing them down. Jake Paul is not a fighter. He's not an athlete. Once this goes into the third round, he's going to be gassing bad. Like he's going to be blowing everywhere, and Ben will take him out. Ben will just pure pressure, just everything Ben's about, he'll put onto him, and I think he'll win. He'll stop him.
See, you echo the same opinion as Dylan Dennis. I was listening to a podcast with him a couple of days ago, and he said he wants the winner of this fight. Doesn't matter who it is. If it's Askren, he wants Askren. If it's Paul, he wants Paul. What do you think about Ben Askren boxing Dylan Dennis or Paul boxing Dylan Dennis?
I think Paul Dennis is more of an interesting fight, but it's Dylan Dennis is not a big name. Outside like the MMA circles and a bit of social media, he's not huge, and he's not necessarily even a better striker than Ben Askren. So it wouldn't be a step up, would it? I think if Jake Paul does what you said he does and goes and starches Ben Askren, it's the Nate Diaz's, it's the Masvidal's, or it's Conor McGregor. It's someone of that type of level. I think he's gone past Dennis if he managed to beat Askren.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this fight? Otherwise, I've got one more on the card, and then we'll jump on news. No, I'll be watching, people's hate on it and even us, for covering it, but it's happening. You're gonna have to get on board or hope that Ben Askren pulls something off, because it seems like it's here to stay. Triller have just bought Fight TV. They're in the business. We've got all these old boxing heads coming back. This seems the way they're going, and we've got to cover it as a MMA site, and as we've also got a boxing site, so we've got to cover it. And I think it's exciting seeing. As we said, we've got different opinions. I think Ben Askren's going to mop the floor with them. You think Jake Paul's going to take him out, and this is why a lot of people will be tuning in and paying that money. Absolutely. The other card I want to speak about before we get to news was Bellator's card this weekend, which has a pretty impressive main and co-main event. We got the champion Vadim Nkov taking on Phil Davies. Your thoughts on that fight? It's a rematch.
Yeah, it was a close one last time, wasn't it? I think it was a split. Every fight Phil Davies is in seems to be a split decision or a very close fight. So I like Phil Davies. I thought, when he was in the UFC, I thought he was the guy. I honestly thought he'd be, the next big thing. But then Rashad beats him and took a bit of shine off. And for me, he hasn't been particularly impressive since then. I know he's picked up some big wins and things like that. But I'm expecting Nkov to go out and, prove why he's the champion, put on a dominant display. I'm not sure he'll stop him, but, it'll be a convincing one on the cards. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Nemkov's just better than him technically, and I think he's going to show it. And Davis has been around a long time, so it's like he's one of those guys that Bellator got later into their career, I think, from memory anyway. So I don't really expect him to take out the champ. But if he does, hey, it's going to be a rough time for whoever wins that fight, even Nkov wins that fight, because the way the Grand Prix is set up, the next bracket for those guys is the winner of Yoel and Rumble. So, hey, I hope that whoever wins it is prepared for that. But on the other side of the bracket, we have Corey Anderson introducing the Bellator newcomer Yagshimarudov, if I said that correctly, which I probably didn't. But Corey Anderson's fighting. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it seemed like Corey's route to the title. Like looked like he was finally set to get a title, and then boom, Yoel's in there, Rumble's in there, and they set this tournament up, and they make it look like the hardest route to the title ever. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see him again against opponents, I'm not overly familiar with. So, always looking forward to Anson. I'm glad to see he made the move, and it seems like a good move for him financially, and there is a path to the title. It's a tough one, but let's see how he does this, the first step.
Yeah, will be fun to watch. I guess we'll jump on the news then. You got anything off the top of your head, or you want me to grab some?
Well, yesterday we got the official announcement that Conor McGregor against Dustin Poirier is done, despite all the the back and forth. So, first things first, what did you make of all that charity stuff?
I thought that it was bad optics for McGregor, but I generally don't think he was going to skip on the donation. Right? He's got enough money that he's not going to do that. I think. Maybe he was. Terrible optics, but I don't ever think he was seriously going to cancel the fight. I thought that was a big ploy as well. So it's good to see it get confirmed so you just know it's actually going to happen.
It was disappointing to see from both sides, really, because I feel like, Dustin, it's bad taste to kind of put something like that out there, like Conor McGregor might have been, but then for Conor to also skip out and stop, taking emails and things like that. It's not good for either guy. And I don't believe it was actually, to build that fight. I don't think it was fake or anything like that. I just feel like because Conor said, "Oh, I'm out the fight," the UFC have rushed to announce it. And I think that's what's happened. And that's why we've got an announcement. But either way, very excited. 20,000 fans in there. It's going to be epic.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? It came at the time where they were about to announce the fight. So, yeah, like you said, was it them announcing the fight to try and remind people that it was going ahead, or was it all planned? You just don't know. I don't think it was. I agree with you. I don't think it was a staged thing, but you just don't know. Yeah, advertising these fights can get a little out of hand these days. But yeah, I have a bit of news here. Dan Hooker wants Rafael dos Anjos next. What do you think of that matchup?
Good fight. Really good fight. I think it's the right fight for both guys. It's a step up for Dos Anjos. He gets a name. He gets he gets everything he wants. And Dan Hooker, it's a good fight for him because that is lightweight return. But it was against Paul Felder, who is kind of, I would say, he's below Dan Hooker and Dan Hooker beats him. So yeah, I think it's a step up for Dos Anjos, a step down, a much needed step down for Hooker at this point because he didn't look on it last fight. Yeah, I'd like to see Dan maybe wait coronavirus out a bit. It's getting sad to see him stuck in these hotels for 4 weeks every time he goes to do these fights. So hopefully he's made enough money where he can sit out for a few months and wait. But it doesn't seem like he wants to. It seems like he wants to jump straight back in. So I'm sure we'll enjoy it, whatever happens.
Yeah, I like the fight. I think it's the one they should make. That's about all I've got. You want to wrap it up, or you got anything else?
Well, just going back to what we were speaking about earlier on the Ben Askren card, we've got Frank Mir fighting as well, which is a bit worrying if anything, because he's fighting Steve Cunningham, who, just, I don't know, many years ago, it probably was a while ago now, but Steve Cunningham put Tyson Fury on his backside. He knocked him down heavily, and it was a tough fight for Tyson Fury. So to see someone like Frank Mir, who for a while now has looked chinny, like every time he fights, it seems like a punch will take him out. To see him in there with someone of Steve Cunningham's levels, a bit worrying for me. And interested to see it. Hopefully Frank can hang tough, but hopefully he doesn't take too much damage, because it seems like a mismatch. And good luck to him. Hopefully we get some wins for MMA this weekend.
Hopefully MMA wins, but we'll see. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll wrap it up here. We'll speak to you next week to recap all the fights from this past weekend, and then preview the pay-per-view, UFC 261, Usman vs Masvidal 2. Thanks for watching. We'll speak to you then. Make sure to subscribe to the LowKick MMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.